On the phone with us this morning, Kansas 1st District Congressman Tracy Mann. Good morning, Tracy. Where are you today?
Good morning. I'm in Syracuse this morning, so we've been doing town halls. We didn't have to vote in D.C. this week, so we've been doing town halls all over northwest Kansas and now down in Syracuse for a handful of town halls today as I move way home towards Salina later on this afternoon.
All right. So while you were in Washington, you've been talking about lots of different things. This is FFA week, though. Wanted to give you a chance to talk a little bit about the Congressional FFA Caucus. How have you been able to work together across the aisle, just looking at what happens with future farmers?
Yeah, I formed, when I came to Congress 2 years ago, the FFA Caucus, which in D.C. there's committees, but there's also caucuses, and caucuses have to be bipartisan. So Jimmy Panetta, a Democrat from California, and I started the FFA Caucus to really raise the awareness and shed positive light on FFA, what they're doing, the way they're developing young people in our country. This is National FFA Week, and it's been great. I think we have 60 members of Congress that are part of the FFA Caucus now, Republican and Democrat, and it's been a good thing for the organization, and I think good thing for every FFAer in our state.
And I noted that the U.S. Department of Agriculture has a position for Agricultural Youth Organization Coordinator. That's vacant right now, isn't it?
It is and has been for 8 months, and so we've been calling on the administration. In fact, sent them a letter yesterday, signed by Republicans and Democrats. They need to fill that position. They need to raise give that a higher priority because ag education is incredibly important to our economy, not just in the big first, but around the country, throughout rural and urban America.
All right. When does the Green Book come out for the budget that you have to pass in September? I know we talked last year about last year's, I don't remember if it was February or March, but it's sometime soon.
Yeah, the administration, they should have already published their budget. They have not, and that's been very frustrating that they have been slow in releasing their budget. That said, it should come out any time now. And once it does, we'll parse through it and see what that looks like. Repeatedly the last couple of years, the Biden administration in their budget has been trying to do away with the stepped-up basis, which would be really bad for agriculture. The ability to pass farmland from one generation to the next. In their budget, it's not just spending, but it's the revenue side as well. And certainly we'll be going through it once they release it.
Well, doesn't that make it more difficult for the Republican-controlled House to properly debate things the longer they wait on this? Because the deadline's the same no matter. It's at the end of September.
Well, no, that's exactly right. So September 30th, end of the fiscal year. Now, with the new rules package, now that Republicans control Congress, there was a new rules package that passed. That rules package requires Congress, the House, to return to regular order, Nick, which is a good thing. And what that means is, how it's designed is, every agency, there's 12 of them, every department of Ag, Homeland Security, Defense, et cetera, they have to come forward with their budget. It goes to the committee, gets vetted, gets thinned down, should be gone through line by line, passed to the floor of the House, and then eventually passes. And that should happen 12 separate times. That's called regular order. What's been happening now for decades, for a long time, is that doesn't happen. Congress doesn't do its job. Instead, all 12 bills get lumped together in this massive package. It's called an omnibus, omni meaning many. So these 12 bills, these many bills get put together and jammed through. No way to do business. It's led to more spending than we need. So we're returning to regular order. But the first start in that process, to your point, is the administration putting forward their budget for each of these departments, and they need to get it to us so we can get to work on it.
Now, we know that you're on the House Ag Committee. We talked about that last month. But what subcommittees are you on? What are you working on in the committee now?
Yep. So on the subcommittees, I am the chairman of the Livestock Subcommittee. Our district, the Big First, Nick, is the number one beef producing district in the country. So really excited to have that gavel and chair that subcommittee. I am also on the Food and Nutrition Subcommittee, and I'm also on the Digital Asset Subcommittee as well. Biggest thing you're going to see the Ag Committee work on this year, though, is the Farm Bill. So Farm bills are 5-year bills. Our current Farm Bill we're under expires on September 30th. So that's going to be, we're going to do a lot of things, but the biggest focus of the committee is going to be its work in reauthorizing this next farm bill.
There have been several issues that take a while to get through. The lesser prairie chicken reclassification issue, and I'm trying not to make this sound any more boring than it is, because it matters a lot to farmers and ranchers. But the federal government basically saying we have to protect habitat for a bird that, frankly, it depends on how much rain you get. That's difficult, isn't it?
Nick, you're spot on. So, the lesser prairie chicken, the Biden administration is in the process of trying to add to the threatened species list. We have been fighting this tooth and nail. When you look at the population of the bird, it really mirrors rainfall. Of course, we're in a drought, especially, farther west in Kansas. And so when you have a drought, the population of the bird dips. We should not be adding it to the threatened species list. I filed legislation along with Senators Moran and Marshall on the Senate side that would prevent the listing of the lesser prairie chicken. If this goes through, then it's going to make it more difficult for ag producers. It's going to make it more difficult for oil and gas producers, and just add more burdensome regulation and cost. We've taken great strides the last few years to increase the habitat for the lesser prairie chicken, and we need to. This needs to be a bottom up instead of a top down approach, most definitely. So it's been very frustrating, something we're spending a lot of time working on.
Earlier this month, the government of Mexico said they're still on track to ban GMO corn imports for human consumption starting next year. Now, first of all, how do they define that, Tracy?
Well, that's a lot of concerns that we have, is how they are defining it. Science has proven for decades now that the food that we consume in our country is safe. For Mexico to do this is a way to penalize our ag producers in our state and in our country. We've been very outspoken, trying to put pressure on the Mexican government to change course here, but it's very, very frustrating, the actions that they've been taking here as of late.
All right. So the House Hunger Caucus has come back, and so what is that for? What are you guys trying to accomplish?
Yeah, raise the awareness for hunger. The big first, our district, Nick, is the third largest ag-producing district in the country. I've never met a single Kansan or ag producer that wants to see people go hungry. So raising the profile, talking about hunger, where it is, what it is, how we stamp it out here in the U.S. and abroad. Certainly, the food nutrition programs that are in the Farm Bill really comprise the majority of the money spent in the Farm Bill, over 80%. And we need to do a better job, I believe, in with work requirements and other things like that. But the Hunger Caucus really brings people together about the issue of hunger. Okay,
so the devil is going to be in the details, just like every bill in Congress. And when you do a bill once every 5 years, there's no way that isn't thousands of pages by the time it gets done. But as you walk through the different facets of the Farm Bill, which is going to be everything from food stamps to broadband and everything in between, I imagine. How do you plan to put that into bite-sized pieces for not only guys like me, but the people in your district to say, these are all the different things that are in here?
Yeah, great question. It's a very, very large bill, to your point. There's around 10 to 12 different titles within the Farm Bill. So what you do is you break it out title by title. There's the nutrition title, there's the crop insurance title, there's the commodity title. These various titles is really the way to approach it. As we get into this Farm Bill, Nick, my biggest priority for our ag producers is going to be crop insurance. It's such an important risk management tool, and I believe the most cost-effective way to guarantee a stable food supply. The program is working. It's popular. Overwhelming majority of producers I talk to like crop insurance in public-private partnership. So I'm going to be working to make sure that we preserve crop insurance. There's going to be efforts to chip away at it, diminishment. I think we ought to strengthen it, fortify it. Such an important risk management tool as we move forward here.
That was the most vital thing that Senator Roberts did in his last years in Congress was, and I use this term because I think he'd appreciate it as a former Marine, threw himself on the grenade for crop insurance in the last farm bill. So how do you do that?
Yeah, well said. It's building a coalition. And we've been working on this for the last 2 years. I'm on the crop insurance caucus, but talking to folks on the committee, both sides of the aisle, making sure that they understand crop insurance, understand its importance, understand how it really works, understand why it matters, not just rural America, but all of America, to deliver a stable food supply. So that's really where it starts. I view this farm bill, Nick, as being, it looks like it's going to be evolutionary but not revolutionary. I think there's going to be it looks like there's going to be some, a scalpel with some minor tweaks and changes. I don't view this, that we're going to have a lot of wholesale large changes to the programs that impact our producers, but we're going to have to get farther into it, and we'll be monitoring it closely, and we'll have to wait and see.
Well, and you also have to be sure that things don't get tied to it that have nothing to do with farms, which can happen with any bill in Congress these days.
That's exactly right. It's making sure we have good stuff in the bill. It's also keeping bad stuff out of the bill. Both are equally important.
All right. So you're in Northwest Kansas. Have you scheduled the Reno County one yet? I know it was in the spring last year.
Not yet. We'll be there in the next few weeks, and we're in Reno County regularly. Whether we have a town hall or not, we're there very, very regularly. But that town hall is not scheduled yet. But done 15 town halls this week. Nick, nothing I enjoy more than getting out, listening to folks, talking to Kansans, talking to constituents, hearing what's on their mind. And it's been a really good couple of days, and excited for the day ahead.
All right. One other question before you go, and that is, does it feel back to normal after all the speaker drama that only people who really, really care about the minutia of politics spent much time on? Now that's all over, and you're back. Is it back to normal?
Oh, yeah. No, absolutely. I would say this. I think the story that I think was missed with the speaker vote last month was the story, of who the speaker is matters, but also the bigger storyline in many ways, Nick, is who the speaker is not. And the speaker is not Nancy Pelosi. And that's a big development. She still a member of Congress, but is no longer in leadership on the Democrat side of the aisle, has pulled way back. So I would contend that who the speaker is matters, but maybe the storyline that everybody missed or didn't focus on enough is who the speaker is not. And it's no longer Speaker Pelosi, as Republicans now control the House of Representatives in Congress.